I'm very pleased and honored to welcome today Gluklya, who is joining us from Amsterdam, renowned international artist, and Anna Bitkina, curator, also curator with Talk, and who is also a collaborator with Gluklya on some current projects that they're going to be discussing with us today. And Anna is also joining us from the Netherlands, but I'll let you say exactly. So we're in 3 different places.
Yeah, from Arnhem, from another city, 1 hour from Amsterdam.
Okay, so if you could please tell us a little bit about yourselves, your practice. Also, I'm curious maybe how you both met each other and started to work with each other.
Yeah, Gluklya and I've been working together since 2012 actually, but I had her in my show in Helsinki in 2012. And that was an exhibition in response to Pussy Riot Act in Moscow. And then later we started to work together more actively from 2014, and we still very much in professional dialogues and working on joint ideas and joint projects as well. One of them, which is ongoing and very much important project for our professional and personal relationship. It's a performance called Debates on Division, When Private Becomes Public. And we've done 5 different iterations of this very complex performance in different cities. And it started from public program in Manifesta 10 in St. Petersburg, which was in St. Petersburg in 2014, yeah.
Yes, my name is Natalia Gluklya. Gluklya, Natalia Persnik-Manska. My full name. I am living now in Amsterdam, although I'm also came from St. Petersburg. And I must say that I would share with you a funny paradox, because with this pandemic, I became like a crazy happy. I'm not closing the eyes on the tragedy, and I'm deeply sympathize with people. And of course, I'm even sometimes crying and all this. But something happened with me as an artist, as a person, and all the worries that I have before, like a kind of not enough exhibition, selling is maybe not so bright, some small conflicts with people, I don't know. It's all became not important. But what became important is the human being itself. The human being as a being with all the people in the planet who are struggling, who are suffering, who are lacking the connections, lacking the touch. People are dying, like elderly people. We're just in Europe, we are just, you know, all our elderly generation is just vanishing. So I was thinking, like, I was trying to understand why is that? Why this paradox?
Yes.
And I find a kind of answer on that. My answer on that now is that we are living in the piece of art. That this pandemic apocalyptic measure turn is comparable with the Gesamtkunstwerk, with a big piece of art. And that's why maybe some artists, I spoke with some artists, they feeling quite the same. Of course, other artists not feeling the same, but some artists feeling something the same. It's because it's really the nature of this absence of time and absence, reinvention of all the social relationships. Topsy-turvy, total carnival of all this, what is going on. It's very much comparable of artist reality. Like, generally speaking, artists are always living in pandemic, you know, but it's personal pandemic. Artists personally deliberately locked sometimes in studios or started self-destruction or whatever, you know. Artists are very often afraid of touch, afraid of human contact, and so on and so on. There's a lot of things which we can find advocating this preposition, you know. Yeah, so what I can do to support, to help other people if I feel myself so exciting. I would like to share the idea that I think we have to really call for global solidarity, because it is very big danger that the planet will be at the hands of new elite, which is going to construct the superior superpower, enslaving us under the umbrella of new technology. So I'm very much inviting you to think about this collaboration with others, and I'm sure that you also feeling maybe the same, that I'm now like becoming more careful with friends, more careful with my family members, more tender, more love, more, you know, we're phoning each other every day, which was not before this.
Yeah.
So this must happen, that human relationships becoming stronger inside the community, like cultural community, so to speak, right? But also in actually all the levels, I can see that. So this is things that I'm reflected in my works now, and in the drawings, and in the action that we did with Anya, and also with the film that I'm doing with my daughter, because my daughter is now at home, the exams canceled. So maybe some of you also the same age, she's 20. And we are doing the film with her. And this is a street performance with a fictional character called Sporish.
Okay.
And Sporish means Japanese weed. It's a plant which is growing very fast with enormous speed and scary people, because it's so easy and fast growing that that people cannot resist. And if you dig this plant with the core, with the root, it's became even more speedy.
Okay, it's not kudzu, is it? No, it's not.
No, it's Japanese knotweed.
Okay, I'm not familiar
But
with.
we translated it as a sporish. It's a funny word, the sound in Russian, sporish, and we're doing that. So that is one of the resistant to pandemic, respond to pandemic line of my works, and very important because my daughter is in the age of resistant to me. We are not like going to fight or something, but it's natural, but it's also painful. So to deal with this pain, with this problem, we are doing this performance, because art is always include the therapy square in it, like part. We cannot reduce art completely to therapy, but the therapy is always in art.
Right.
So we can use our art and imagination especially.
Yeah.
And the second, okay.
I was just going to say,
that is first part.
Yeah, empathy. Your work is really, there's at the core, there's empathy too. So continue, please.
Continue.
Yeah. Didn't mean to interrupt.
Empathy is very important. because imagination is very important also. Because if we develop imagination, then we can imagine how doctors are feeling themselves. How, and if we're developing more our imagination, we can maybe become a virus itself. Means like we will understand what does it mean to be animal in the planet, to be this poor bat, or you know, the snakes or rats or virus, yeah, who is in us now, but we can imagine what does it mean to be on other side of barricade. And I think it's very important. That is also I'm trying to develop now in my drawings, because again I have this unique opportunity to stay more in studio, focusing on the drawings. And as Anya said, it's very true that it's pleasure. Why? The concept of pleasure, as we know, is very complex, but pleasure in our contemporary situation of artists, as you know, who works with institution, also especially, is that you cannot always focus on your entire world. And I'm not a religious person, but we can compare it with the prey, right? You agree, yeah?
Yes, yes, yes.
So the time for this prey is very limited by all kind of deadlines, institutional work, applications, all this communication, all which is surrounded maybe in the past art. But to be contemporary artist is not only to be able to speak with yourself and to show it to other people, but it's also all kind of these bureaucratic works, which is really poisoning and killing this gift that we have, you know, to speak with ourselves. And the speak with ourselves is what Anna Arendt wrote, that without this speak with yourself, you're becoming a fascist. And this is in her book, books are very clear.
Yeah, and I would like to add a little bit about the act of drawing and the act of creating, because it was some time ago I had this idea. I would like to work with, I would like to make an exhibition of Glukya's drawings, because it's completely different material than to work, for instance, on the performance debates and division, where really put together lots of like-minded people and also different art institutions in order to create a collective act. But drawing is a very individual message, and it's a very individual practice that is, I think, equally important in Glukya's practice to present to the public and also contemplate about it. So through the series of conversations about drawings that are kind of piling up in artist studio and sometimes appearing in a very unusual and very unexpected situations. So through the series of this conversation, so I sort of drag from Gluklya what it means from her to draw, to create different characters through her act of drawing. And she said that it's a pleasure of act for her. It's a search for freedom. This is exactly what she said. Like when in everyday life, an everyday life of artist or creative person, the degree or the space for creativity is very limited, because like time is eaten by different processes, by different demands of the system. So this the space for creativity is shrinking. So drawing for Gluklya is exactly that little crack which she found within her practice in order to be free, in order to come back to herself. And this, like, you know, this act of pleasure is sometimes becoming an act of guilt, because instead of drawing, you should be maybe meeting another deadline, or write another proposal, or to talk to another curator about your upcoming exhibition. So that's what I was, by thinking about putting together those drawings that are exactly those acts of freedom. I think is very important to actually think about, like, what kind of different layers of complexity of realities you can found through those freedom of acts, which artists are finding in drawing. I mean, I'm talking in reference to Gluklya.
Yeah, Anna, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I also want to add that it's a pleasure, and it's also it can be seen as a exercise to collect your spirit and to keep the fragile balance, playful balance, light balance of spirit, light spirit of this balance, and to be able to be playful. And that is very important, again, like within this construction of a lot of tasks and so on. And that is exactly very difficult, because if you have a lot of tasks, it is difficult to concentrate on this one drawing, right? But you have to be able to create a good drawing with especially watercolor, because watercolor is like, oh, if you look at your gadget, then the water is eating your thought, you know, and then the drawing is dying. So that is a very good practice of concentration, finding the balance, and to be able to be playful.
Yeah, and just to add about this technique of watercolor, and watercolor as a sort of as a tool to express your technique to express to work on drawing, is that it requires you concentration, yes, as Gluklya said, but also some sort of a dedication to your drawing, because you have to watercolor ask you to come back again and again to your work to add extra details. You have to wait when one layer will be dry so that you can come back again. So it keeps you concentrated, and it keeps you in this sort of a playful, dreamy, creative cloud. You need to be also very disciplined to continue that. So, and I think that's sort of a technique which also dictates you some level of concentration and dedication, but also at the same time there's this idea of freedom of act. This is what I guess could be said about Gluklya's drawings.
Okay, if you could talk about the transformation process from the drawings, these very personal drawings, to the performance projects that you do, and do you work directly from the drawings? Are they sort of the seeds for the performances, or do the performances come about from another place? It's sort of a chicken question, maybe.
Yeah, okay. I understand. The drawings, which, I mean, I have a different sort of drawings, and not all of them going to be transformed to performance or other video or something.
True.
But when I'm preparing to performance or video with the help of drawing, it means I'm thinking. So the drawing is the way of thinking. And it's the same as your writing text. It's just the same, just very different in technique. So sometimes I'm struggling with some dilemma. For example, now I'm struggling with a dilemma should I accept universalism as Zizek see it or not? You know, that is really my task to understand. And then I'm like sometimes starting to draw, and I don't know what, because sometimes you're feeling not okay, or it's just, I don't know, headache or whatever. But then paradoxically, the body is starting to react on this desire to understand something. So within the process, you start from one thought and you finish with another thought. It's the same also as with reading. When you are reading the book, then other thoughts coming. The same like with drawing. You're drawing and you're thinking, and this is a process which is leading to generalization, to the clarifying of the idea of the final performance or video.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, but I would like to come back maybe to say a few words about this, our project Debates and Division. So I would probably think or add to this from a curatorial perspective and to the notion of solidarity. And I guess this performance is a very interesting example of how to perform and exercise solidarity on a level of a smaller community, which is built up while you're working on the content of the performance. So that's kind of also like showing, and people that in the end stay within the performance. These because those that are not immune in a way to this performance, they kind of like magically getting out. And I think that is also like if you transform the notion of immunity to the current situation. So there's people that are part of the performance that like really really dedicated characters, but the situation now, it's like showing that it's impossible to stay as a kind of immune body who is kind of radically separated from others and not owning anything to the community. So this performance, which is constructed as a fictional TV talk show, which we sort of which Gluklya design and direct, and also I sort of keep the contours of this process happening as a curator. So that's I guess could be seen from the current situation as a different and necessary tool of how else art community could exist, I hope.
Great, thank you.
Yes, because Debates on Division, it's our main project that we're doing with Anna. It have been started in 2014 when Russia and Ukraine, it became the war between Russia and Ukraine. The annexation of Crimea happened, and Anna invited me to do performance, and it was very complex because the generals of Manifesto asked us not to do this performance because yeah, that is a secret of our friendship, because it was a struggle against the enemies, you know. That is, it's always a very good tool to be united against the enemy. It's very easy actually. So they demand from us that we are not doing this performance, that because the director signed the petition that he is supporting the Putin. And I was personally like not sleeping several nights on that, because I understood this decision is very crucial. From one hand, I am totally agree with European point of view on that, and of course, annexation of Crimea is a criminal act, and I'm not supporting Putin personally and so on. But from other hand, we are dealing with locality. with people in our city, St. Petersburg. And it was theater which just opened, the first theater with a progressive scene, you know, where you can do without censorship or conservative energy, you know. And the logic was why we should give it up to enemies. Because if we are all going out of this theater, what will be with this theater? It will go to this camp of people of conservative and right-wing forces. So, and Anna also, we were in solidarity about that, and we went against very famous, influential art figures in that. But we did it, you know, and it became a real friendship and a real project. And the debate on division, it's maybe the separate Zoom must be about that, but very short, it's about questioning the main idea of capitalism, which is about competitiveness.
Yeah, yeah.
The capitalism is existing as a competition, and it's also comparable with Darwin theory of the survival is the most strong. You know, the strength, power, and money is rulers of this society.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a question in this performance, because people are invited to vote. Show is it close good enough to be in the collection of the new fictional museum?
Mm-hmm.
And then it is a stories of people. It's a real stories about their lives, and the public invited to vote, and that is it's a cruel act, because all the stories are great because of this fragility, and the beauty of this fragility is in the people's stories.
Yes, yes, thank you. And I think the work, I know that you performed it with Creative Time in Washington, D.C. a few years ago. And I would hope that we can bring you back to the U.S. I feel that this particular work even has a greater relevance now with what's going on in the United States and the questions of the deconstruction of capitalism. Not to get into the politics and of the United States right now, but we could talk for a few hours on that, but we won't. But I think that it's interesting when artists create a work and it continues to grow in a kind of relevance and sort of reforms and again transforms, but continues to adapt. It's a kind of work that also I think migrates, has that as it has. So
but it's also it's a really unique process, and I think this is why it's still kind of like we keep it carrying further, landing on different political contexts, because it's really, we kind of, I guess we are curious ourselves, like, will it work again, or will it unite people again? And it's proven to be, after like 5 iterations, which was shown in St. Petersburg, Amsterdam, Washington, D.C., Oslo, Brussels. So very different contexts we were landing in, very different themes we were putting on a public spotlight within the performance. And it's proven to be always building up within the performance a certain community of people. So if you can, like, people that don't know each other, like independent individuals, it brings together not only individuals but also different institutions, because the format of performance also require some sort of collaboration. And it's the process of preparation is pretty durational. So there is some time which can and different situation when glue different people and different people and different institutions together. So, and if we within like saying like few months period can build up a certain community or network and construct a network of people within performance, I guess it's also like showing that, and those contacts are actually like being carrying on. We still in contact with those people. With some of them, we became good friends. New relationship and new collaboration grew out of that. So that's just a beautiful process, and it's. If it's showing the great sides of society within artistic domain, I think we can also translate it to the real life as well.
But yeah, very, very well put. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to have to wrap up here.
Yes.
You've already sort of answered some of the other questions.
We just warmed up and ready to carry on, but I understand we have some limitations.
We're going to have two.
Yeah, but although the understanding and feeling of time during pandemic is really transforming as well, I think it's also reflecting on the way how we act and how we think. So yes. But I understand there is a limit.
But I do want to give you the floor before we close here. If you'd like to say anything.
No, I think Gluklya should make a close remark.
I wish you to keep relationships with your dears and with your friends and with your colleagues under the control of absolute love. And be very much kind to each other. Try to use your imagination and do everyday performances. It will be a new type of performance, domestic performances. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Gluklya. Thank you, Anna. It's been a pleasure having you here. We hope to see you live in person at some point in the near future.